You have come to the right place. This is the Leg Up Lockdown Edition, Tier 2, or Tier 1 now as it is. We've culled the deadwood, no man barely standing, no Stephen Hunt. Fortunately for you, we have Brendan Popper with us to give us some expert analysis around the races at Ellerslie for Saturday's afternoon. Hello BP, this show's starting to look a little bit more how I imagined it in my head.
Oh, very good morning to you, Thad. And yeah, look, you're missing some friends there. It certainly doesn't suit you. I think you're on your Pat Malone, and I think you need some buddies there for going forward for the leg up. But yeah, look, it's the way it is. Boys are away, and a little bit of lockdown issues as well, I suppose, on top of it. But what we have got, Thad, is some very good racing coming up on Saturday at Ellerslie. Now, I think we mentioned a few weeks ago that it's in a roll-on effect of just race meeting after race meeting over these next few Saturdays, where we're just talking about some really good stuff. We had a great meeting last weekend, but this weekend just sets things up towards the Vodafone New Zealand Derby in 2 weeks' time, and in 3 weeks' time, the Auckland Cup. And also, it's great that we are racing at Ellerslie, because I think that was so important for those horses that want to have a final sighter around Ellerslie, especially for those 3-year-olds with Derby in mind.
Yeah, we know how important it is to have that run at Ellerslie. The trainers talk about it a lot, jockeys as well, so to have that look is pretty crucial. Let's touch on last week, Pops. Fantastic day's racing. I know we're heading into an Auckland Cup, but let's go back. Avantage. I want to say anticlimactic. I felt a little bit flat after that race, I'll have to admit. She did what she always does. She came out and was a total professional. Opie took bad luck out of place, out outside the leader, and she romped away. I don't know if Levante even there could have bettered the way the race was run, but I did feel a little bit flat, I'll have to admit.
Yeah, we certainly walked away from that race meeting wanting a little bit more, because we still had questions that were unanswered, weren't they, around that race. I think you're right. I think the way that Avantage actually won that race, it was going to be an effort, wasn't it, from Levante? Yeah. Had she would at least just got away with them and been back in last position, they were able to put the horse in the right spot, Avantage, and we heard and we spoke a lot about that this horse had to get at least 3-4 lengths on Levante Advantage by being in front of it and being a good clear leader on the point of the bend. So that's how it panned out for her, and she wasn't looking around the corner for Levante, because she missed it by panels. I mean, a big run from Levante with how the race has panned out, by still beating runners home and finishing into 5th position, but the forever professional in Avantage making it 7 Group 1s. And that's going to be the little niggly factor in the back of your mind now every time we get to Levante when having a bet on her, is that it is the start. It's sort of, that's going to be the little black mark next to her name, but if she gets it right in the next few starts, I'm sure that she's going to be a contender for a Group 1. But yeah, it was just that little bit flat, wasn't it? We just didn't get the clash we were looking for.
Yeah, a man barely standing. Paul Moati's bet of the day might have had something to do it around Levante. Look, and Bobby Vance, and Royal Performer, reigning on a few parades, but his first Group 1 win. Bob Vance is a trainer. I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, a brilliant horseman is Bob Vance. What a talent he was in the saddle, and to be able to gain his first win as a trainer with his wife Jenny, and a race that panned out for the horse, because Barrow Draw was perfect for Royal Performer, and the Deerfield was the leader, and not Camino Ricoso. Camino Ricoso was at the back end of the field, trying a different tactic to try and see if the horse can settle and maybe have some more energy at the end of the race for Camino Ricoso. And that's where I think the race got interesting, because when that horse moved into the race at around about the 800 metre mark, things started to change complexion, because Melody Bell was in the firing line, was in a beautiful spot, was 1 by 1, and then once Camino Ricoso was able to make that move and come around outside Melody Bell, and the pressure went into the race, I don't know, I just felt as though she wasn't travelling 100 at that point, and she dropped a bit of touch, and she just wasn't travelling the best that we have seen from Melody Bell. And then, of course, she doesn't find any luck down the straight. So it was a race that just never went her way, and we'll look forward to seeing her once again, Melody Bell, because the reports straight away was that she was A-OK pulling up after the race. So, yeah, we didn't get the fairy tale that we're looking for with 14 Group 1s with Melody Bell, but what we did get on the other hand of the other side of the coin was Bob Vance getting his first as a trainer and raw performer, really backing up that solid form that we'd seen since arriving here in New Zealand. What about the run of the Chosen One, Thad? That horse really marks himself now as a Sydney Cup horse. He is in Australia now, and on the rocks, found some old form. A previous winner of the race 2 years ago, finishing into third position. Huge effort, and that meant the first four paid $50,000. But great day out. Really was a super day, and the crowd was there too, Thad.
Yeah, it looked fantastic on TV. It certainly did. A great day's racing. What about a maiden of the week, BP? What have you got for us, or what have you found for us during the week that we can sort of hang our hat on going forward?
Yeah, look, I'm breaking just a little rule. And look, we don't have leg up maiden of the week rules. But
do not.
This is just something I was always trying to keep away from, and that was 2-year-old races as the maiden of the week, because it was just something I wanted to keep away from. But I feel as though with now where we are in the part of the season heading into the autumn, that this is going to be a good race to be able to just keep tabs on. The winner was heavily backed, and that being Midnight Rocket. Had the ace barrier draw, and was good enough to be able to show some good tactical speed to use that draw, and got away nicely. And boy, Thad, you would have seen it at your end, how heavily backed this horse was. Boy, they kept piling in, 5.5 into $2, and obviously we had the scratchings, but there was a serious amount of cash piling in on this horse.
Yeah, there certainly was. We missed it there. Clean missed it, 5.50 into 2.70, I think, at the close around Midnight Rocket. What about the run of the second horse too, BP? That was a nice run. What did you know the name of that horse?
La Dolce Vita's. Yeah, La Dolce Vita's the name of that horse. And when going over the trials leading into this race, it was one horse that really caught my eye with how she was running on from back in the field. And she had a tricky gait, and she was always going to be a closer. And boy, she's closed off into second position. I'd be marking her down. She's trained by Ralph Manning, is this 2-year-old filly by Perrin Canto. Really like what I saw there late in the piece. So yes, liking the winner, like the second horse once it gets a bit further than the 1,000 metres, and just might be the race as well that you can follow, because you'd imagine that Danger Strikes is another horse that's going to be a benefit from that first outing. So interested to see what happens now with this runner in Midnight Runner and other horses, because next week we do have the Matamata race meeting. So for the boys, the Waikato Slipper, and for the girls we do have the Matamata Breeders. So that's an option, and then of course leading into a couple of Group 1 races for the 2-year-olds in the next few weeks. So yeah, it just might be a race where maybe some of them might be thrown in the deep end in the next few weeks.
Okay, one of your nice maiden races, sort of form races to follow. I always get confused, Slipper for the boys there at Matamata. I'm going to remember that. How many Danielle Johnson get yesterday? BP, another 3 or 4. She's cracked 1,000 lifetime. Congratulations to her. That's one heck of an effort.
What an effort. And to, I suppose, we were all talking about the fact that she was on 999 and just got it done in the first race, feeling fancy. That's the best way to do it, isn't it? Thad? You know, 99, the next ball you want to be able to push it into the covers for a little single, and she's done exactly that. She found that winner in the first race, and look, a great story attached to it, of course. With her family being, they're terrific horse people, and her dad was a very good rider, and Peter Johnson, who found himself in that 1,000 win bracket also. So great piece on the news last night surrounding Peter Johnson watching the race, and yeah, Danielle, she's got there in quick time, and she's just racking up the winners throughout this racing season. She's running away with the premiership, and she is red hot at the moment, and yeah, all certainly. Plaudits go to her, and I think too manager and Kevin Booth, because it's as we know with Aiden and Bevan as well with their efforts in managing jockeys, it's a fair task. They do a big job. So well done to Kevin Booth, the manager of Danielle Johnson also. Yeah,
no nervous 90s for Danielle. Just poked it straight through the covers in the first race. Perfect. Okay, BP. Well, let's get to Ellerslie, mate, because as you mentioned earlier, this is a bumper card, and we've got that eye on the Derby, we've got that eye on an Auckland Cup with these races, and there's some booming races. We're going to start though on race number 6, and that is the Barfoot and Thompson Open Handicap 1,200 metres. And gee, we had a bit of a discussion around this race. I think I might have had 3 different favourites. We've settled on Popstar Princess $5 favourite, but Packing Rockstar, Princess Rihanna and Just a Canter come out of that Entrevier race at Ellerslie. last up. They're all right in play. $6.50 just a canter. Princess Rihanna $6. Cavallo Aloche going for 3 in a row, $13. Packing Rockstar I mentioned, 5.5. Acceleration probably should have won at Trentham last time, $9. Remington 9.5. New York Jazz at $13. And the big upset winner, you won't get 100 around the Dom potentially this time if you can do it again, $26. But tricky race to nail one down. I wouldn't be surprised, BP, if Popstar Princess doesn't start favourite in this race.
Yeah, look, and she's one of my favourites too, Popstar Princess, and she was a very good winner last time out of counties. She found that spot up front. She was able to beat a race rival in New York Jazz, and look, she went into the race with a nice, tidy, quiet trial. She's had another trial since then, and Eilish McCall takes the ride and gets 3 kilos off, and that could be a key component to this race, with her being a forward runner and getting some weight relief down to 54.5 kilos. I am looking towards that on Trivier race because Just Canter, who went around at $70 in that race, has actually raced very strongly this season. And if you go over Just Canter's run prior to that, he'd run 3 lengths off Avantage in the railway, but his figures were not that far off in terms of closers. Second or third best closer in the race was Just Canter. And he finished 8th, and he was only able to beat 3 horses home. So he's backed that up by running a super race in the Concord into 2nd position. He has been one of these horses that has produced very quick last 600 sectionals and closing sectionals a number of times, and has yet finished 4th, 5th, 6th. He's just been one of those type of horses. I think on the weekend he might get a really strong chance of peeling a big one off. With it being, $37,500 open 1,200 metre race. So he's the horse I'm starting to lean towards. And even in that Concord race, he ran the fastest last 800 and the fastest last 200 in behind on Trivier. So he's the one I'm really starting to get warm towards that, and he's at the price where I'm happy to bet too, where he's at $6.50. So that's the early thought on the race anyway, heading around Just Canter.
I see a bit of money for Princess Rihanna. BP in the race comes out of that same form line. It was getting home well in that race behind on Treviera, $6. Probably the best backed with us in a relatively low turnover race so far. But yeah, Princess Rihanna will be a good chance on her day as well.
Well, exactly, and look, she's run the 2nd fastest last 200, and also those middle sectionals have been her best. Fastest last 600, fastest last 400 in the Concord when finishing into 6th position. So, for those reasons and how she's run, I'm going to mark her my 2nd selection because I just want to follow that Concord form around the race. So, I think she's going to be one of those horses that is again closing. But she's also she can do both. She can sit on tempo, and if there's it just sort of depends on which horse you can follow over, because you've got Popstar Princess who's drawn the inside of her, who's drawn in barrier number 5. So there might be that opportunity of maybe following that horse over and trying to get outside leader. So that's how I'm playing it early. Those 2 runners, the 4 Just Canter, the 5 Princess Rihanna. Wow, there's still many options left though, isn't there? I mean, you just mentioned Popstar Princess, your early favourite, a horse that has had another trial under the belt. She's in winning form with weight relief. And the other one's Packing Rockstar, Thad, because this horse gets a couple of kilos off with Billy Pin aboard and was beaten in the on Trivier race, should I say, the Concord, and then was running 4th in the Railway a couple of starts ago. Just has that niggly barrier draw though, just Packing Rockstar. But his form, I think he hasn't been too far off the mark to say that he has to be a strong top 4 contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Hypnos resuming, big weight, the Copeland's Mile winner. What do we do there? Wait and see.
I think so. I think so. Just with some of these other horses with their weight relief in their favour, and look, it's not to say that this horse can't run out a very strong 1,200 metres. Is it just the case that maybe he's going to get bogged down with the bigger weight? And the same with Dawn Patrol. Look, we know Dawn Patrol is a horse, again, that's very capable in these type of races. And he has carried some weight, has this horse. I mean, he carried, 3 starts ago? He won an open handicap carrying 62 kilos, beating home Just Canter. So he's proven that he's more than capable of doing it. He overcame a barrier draw of 6 on that occasion. He has to try and come from the outside gate on the weekend. So hence why their prices are sitting where they are, at that sort of $10 and $9.50 respectively. And then you've got Remington, which is probably another horse you could mention, Thad, off the back of the run in behind Popstar Princess when finishing into 4th position. Look, he's a horse that is maybe in the right part of the weights where he can be a contender with a low gate with Danielle Johnson, so all of a sudden you're starting to tick the right boxes around Remington. Overall though, Thad, I went with Justice Cantor as my top selection in the race, runner number 4, in front of the 5 and Princess Rihanna, following the Concord form, then went towards Packing Rockstar and had to have my old mate in there and Popstar Princess for 4th. Can't leave her out of any combinations. Like the 1 or 2 times I have left her out, thinking, oh, maybe this race might be just a little bit rich. You know, she comes through and I think, why did I neglect? Just stick with. So I'll be keeping her in there.
She is a little bit like that Popstar Princess, I'll have to admit. Let's get to the Guineas, Pops. Race number 7 on the card, and we've got a dominant favourite here in Rocket Spade. He's right in calculations for a derby, $2.10 the price currently. The filly Ilafare at 5.5 ran a nice race at Waikato, backing up into this. You'll see Jason Beltry there at $9. On display 16s. Lord Ardmore's 12. Milford, the Salva winner, 6.5. I heard Stephen Marsh give it a fairly decent rap yesterday on track there, or on the phone rather, before Te Araha. Tribute King, 26. And as I say, down to the bottom of the page there, Ilafare at 5.5. He did a good job with 62, I thought, Pops, even though he was knocked off last time.
Yeah, I think it was everything you wanted to see from a horse who was contending as the Vodafone New Zealand Derby favourite in Rocket Spade, and that's where he sits at the moment. It's a Derby market that's a tricky one to play into when we have an unknown Madalena, what happens with her and if she runs in the Derby or not, and we're sort of just waiting to see what the feeling is there. To be honest with you, I really don't know either. Like, I think if she's a horse that runs in the Derby, she's going to be awfully hard to beat. But yeah, and I can't get a true feel on that, Thad, about just what they do with her if she runs in the race. Boy, I'd love to see her run in it though. Wouldn't it make it interesting?
Yeah, it certainly would. The way she put them away, even with a bit of adversity, she had to overcome there at Te Rapa last time. She was impressive last Saturday. So yeah, she would shake this Derby up, and she is currently a $2.80 favourite, even though she's not nominated in the race. But look, Ilafare's there. She was good last. I feel like she's building to something. The daughter of Dundee, Ilafare. It was a nice run. I liked the run 2 starts ago as well at Pukekohe. So she's sort of heading the right direction.
She is. She is probably finding the right Derby year to be having a shot as a 3-year-old filly because of what she's showing so far. She's running through the line. Every time that she goes to the races, she's the horse that is eye-catching late and is always running through the line over the 2,000 metres. So that gives you every indication that once she gets out a little bit further, which is going to be on the weekend, 2,100 metres, and then a couple of weeks later to the 2,400 metres, that's going to play into her hands because the way she worked home, in the David and Karen Ellis Classic into 4th position, with how she's been able to work home in the Royal Stakes in behind Needle and Thread. It just gives you all those indications that she's going to be able to see out a trip. Look, let's get back to Rocket Spade. He is the deserved favourite in the race, isn't he, with what you said, Thad. He carried 62 kilos. He's been gunned down late by a horse who had 8 kilos less, and an older horse too.
Goes around in the Cup,
Rosso.
Pops. Goes around in the Cup. Vito
That's
Rosso.
Right. That's right. That's right. And Vito Rosso ran a credible race in the Dunstan Feeds final too. So, look, he hasn't been beaten by a mug, and that horse has been able to carry less weight than him, and he's a 3-year-old. I think there's a couple of little things with that race and with Rocket Spade, and you want to see sort of hopefully they get ironed out. He got a little bit keen, he got a little bit on the chewy, sort of in the early stages of the race, and that's been a couple of things with him, and they've been trying to teach those little things with him, is that, get back, relax, really build into the race, all those sort of things. And look, they got that in the end. He was able to eventually come back to jockey Craig Grills, and then he found himself in front and he was caught late. So it was a run over distance of 2,100 metres, which is the distance of this race. He was up against older horses, he carried big weight. So really, it was the ideal run for him leading into the Avondale Guineas and heading towards the Vodafone New Zealand Derby. He's got a light draw, he's got a low draw, We have seen him at times in some of those shorter course races when we were talking about Rocket Spade through to the 2000 Guineas. He does have a little bit of barrier speed. You know, he's not a slug out of the gates. He's a horse that can jump with them. So he's a horse that might be able to take a really good spot in transit, you'd imagine, Rocket Spade. And look, it gives him every opportunity of being involved here. So I find it hard to go past him. I really do like a horse that's had a bit of value in this race, and it's on display. I keep coming back to this horse with how he's run in the Auckland Guineas, which was won by Rocket Spade when he ran into third position, and how he's run into fourth position in what is possibly going to be our best form reference in terms of 3-year-old races this season in the 3-year-old Karaka Classic. He's run fourth, and he's hit the line beaten 2.5 lengths. In front of him, of course, was Aegon, Madalena, and Motre Moi, who was also favoured for the Vodafone New Zealand Derby. He has to be considered a chance at a very big price. He's at $16. I'm going to have something on him more on that sort of 1/3 type bet, because if he gets up and wins, you'd be disappointed you didn't have some of the 16s, but if he runs into the top 3, which I think he might be able to do, he has to overcome a tricky gate, but I just think he might be that little each-way player in the race, Thad.
Yeah, I like it. Not long for a derby on display, I noted this morning, BP. So, I mean, obviously there'd be late nomination a chance if it runs well. I presume that may be still on the cards for on display.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Ginger Nuts wasn't. Ginger Nuts won this race from, pretty much nowhere. Ginger, I mean, he went at $40, didn't he, winning this race? He won a race out of Te Teko, and then found himself winning the Avondale Guineas. Wasn't nominated for the Derby, so they threw in the late nomination, and well, the rest is history. The horse won the Derby. So, don't be too put off by that. If the horse runs super, I'm sure they'll be looking into putting the horse into the Derby contentions.
Yeah, okay. Go top 4 here, Pops. Rocket Spade clearly on top, though.
Yes, he is. He is Thad. I think Milford has to be considered a big danger in the race. He did run well in that race out of Ellerslie, so he's had a good look round here, and I think that's a key pointer. But I'll mark as my second selection on display, just looking at that value point of view and around his Rocket Spade run in the Auckland Guineas and in the 3-year-old Karaka Classic. The 7 Milford, I just like how this horse is building. Had a run over ground at this track in the Ginger Nut Silver, and then Ilafare for sure, number 13, with how she just continues to run on and run good, solid races so far this preparation. So I'll go 1, 3, 7 and 13.
Yeah, lovely. Exciting race. Looking forward to seeing Rocket Spade go around. Let's get to race 8, Pops. This is the Avondale Cup. I love this race. This race gets me excited. There's so many ways you can slice this race. Sound, the Australian current Auckland Cup favourite, $7. Is he just having a run around in a twinkling? We know how good he is on his day, $5. The Auckland Cup defending champ, roger that at 30-1. Fiscal Fantasy 10s. Sergeant Blast is there at 16s. Platinum Invader, $7. Ocean Billy, the Waikato Cup winner, $14. Tiaka Calibre, 19. Robusto, 16. Hurricane, I like what he was doing from the back of the pack there at Awapuni last time, $16. Just Amaze there at $13. And a host of chances. Lincoln King as well, 9.5. Swords Drawn, 14. Stars are $7 right in play, and 30-1 plus the remainder. But not to say the likes of a Vito Rosso couldn't feature in this, Pops. I like this staying race. It's got me going. Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I mean, this is a dream in terms of trying to find one at a price. Those that love playing into multiple bets, if you love taking quaddies and hoping that you want to find some value, well, there's a very high chance you can find it in this race. There is a number of different angles to be able to try and take into this year's running of the Avondale Cup. Look, Stars Are, first of all, is a horse that really impressed by winning the Dunstan Feeds final. Has come up with an absolute horror draw, though. That is drawn the car park for Stars Are, but he's a horse that's right in the market. You've got horses like In a Twinkling that's been very good all throughout this season, beaten in the Karaka Cup behind Tiptronic, his placing in the Group 1 behind Concert Hall 3 start to go in the Zabel Classic, and even his fighting run in the City of Auckland Cup to finish into 4th position. Sound adds interest to the race, of course, the runner that was placed in the Auckland Cup.
in the end, Thad, I'm just starting to look for some horses at bigger prices, just because I think it's that type of race, and I think we can.
Agreed.
And you could almost probably pick out 3 horses at big prices and maybe play them all, really. But I'm looking towards Swords Drawn. He's a horse that can be a little bit tricky to follow because it's just Swords Drawn, isn't it? He's just one of those horses. He's won 4 from 24, but his run in the Wellington Cup behind Wasaki was very good because he was coming with Justin Mays, and these 2 horses come back to the 2400 metres, and I'm not put off by that with Swords Drawn, because he is a horse that did run quite an honest race in the City of Auckland Cup, and Justin Mays also is the other runner that does have a 2400 metre strong record. The other thing with Justin Mays is we saw the horse come from well off them and finish on into 3rd position. I know he's been a little bit of a barrier rogue at times and not quite getting away with them and conceding those early lengths, because he is a very good horse out in front, like we have seen with how he's won a Waikato Gold Cup in the past. But they were the 2 I really gravitated to early in this market, Thad, because of where they sit with their most recent runs and also their prices.
Yeah, nice. $13 and $14 respectively there for Justin Mays and obviously Swords Drawn. Seeing some money from Platinum Invader, BP. That might be just a run around last time at New Plymouth. And what do we do with Sound? Do we see? We haven't seen a lot of money early. Do we give him this one before we start investing or thinking about investing around the Auckland Cup favourite?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. There's been enough from him in his Australian starts, though, hasn't there? And good to see him here early, like in terms of having a run here before going into the Auckland Cup, as he didn't have that last year, and he ran super in last year's Auckland Cup. Did Sound to be able to finish into the money. Platinum Invader, first of all, I think Platinum Invader has to be kept very safe, because 1800 metres. Was short of the horse's best, ran a tight turning circuit like New Plymouth, where the horse comes back to Ellerslie, where he does have very good form here. I mean, he has had 6 starts at Ellerslie for a win, a very narrow defeat to try and back up the win in the City of Auckland Cup from the previous year, when running second to Sauvignon Blanc 2 starts ago. I just think everything about Platinum Invader tells me that he is a bona fide top 3 chance in the race with his stats here around Ellerslie and over this distance. So he is for sure.
Pops. Give us a top 4. He's in there, Platinum Invader.
He's definitely in there. He has to be in there. So I'll go with the 2 roughies that I mentioned. The 13 Swords Drawn, low draw, could get a soft run in transit. Justin Mays has a barrier draw. If he could potentially try and use it, that would be great, because it puts him right in the race. But he showed that he can come from back in the field with how he rounded out his 3,200 metres. And Platinum Invader is the other horse I want in there. And then Sound, I'll be looking for a nice run from Sound to say that's a big tick to say that he's right on target for the Auckland Cup.
That'd be the way I'd be playing it around him as well. Haven't seen a lot of early money for Sound, but an intriguing betting race, the Avondale Cup this year. We could go all day here, Pops. That half an hour wasn't long enough. I'm just getting into my stride here without the other lads. Could have been an hour and a half show. Bet of the day, mate. You struck last week with Marilenia 2.1. Didn't start anywhere near that price, to be fair, and rightfully so, the way she won. What's your bet of the day this week?
What about that? I mean, that was... I mean, there was an avalanche of money throughout the day, wasn't there? But, boy, I bet you lads there didn't expect to be able to see that horse starting as short as she was. I mean, I did think 210 was very generous, but boy, I didn't think she was going to be getting to the depth that she did in the end.
Yeah, in hindsight, we missed it. We missed it. Fair to say, 210 was a gift. In hindsight, maybe we could have been that $1.80 mark, but I don't think we could have opened much shorter. But yeah, she bolted in and right in Derby calculation. We need another one though, mate. You're our star performer here.
Well, I'm going to go back down the 210 line, and I'll go to Rocket Spade in the AJC Avondale Guineas as my best bet on the weekend. I just, as I said when we were talking about him, he's got a draw, he's got winning form here at this venue. I thought his run last time to the races over the 2100 metres, carrying a lot of weight, was bang on. And if he can just come underneath Craig Grills and be presented at the right time, he's going to be the one to beat, and he's really going to put himself right into Derby contention. So we'll make Rocket Spade and the Avondale Guineas best bet of the week.
Loving it. 39% ROI for BP. He's our man. You going to be on course tomorrow with COVID 2 up there, Pops, or what's the plan?
No. So we'll base ourselves from where we are at the moment in the Hamilton studio and try and get as much information as possible from here out to the viewers. And an important day for just trying to work out what happens to this Derby puzzle and also Auckland Cup puzzle.
100% it is. It's a fantastic day's racing. We could have talked longer. Thanks for joining us for a shortened leg up with just myself and BP. Looking forward to that Aussie stuff as well. Probabile, going around. So, that's going to be something to keep an eye on as the day goes on as well. So a fantastic day's racing in store. Thanks for joining us on a shortened leg up. We'll be back with an hour show in 7 days' time.